RNG are your nightmare.
Set it off like this. Set it off like. Set it off like this. Burn it up, burn it up.
What I want to achieve here is to wake up and play the best League of Legends I can do. If I can do that, nothing else will matter.
我们要还是一步一步来，先打进去小组赛，然后再看看有没有机会，我们会突然就是可能感觉会来了，然后就进4强。
If we make it out from group, that's a success for our country. We have a fresh start. Everyone in our group is even.
It is an absolute massacre for RNG.
只要是打比赛的时候，每一个对手你都想去影响他们，不管对手是谁吧。然后。
PSG got a lot weaker compared to last year. As I can see, Red is better than PSG, and so we have a pretty good chance.
All it takes is one good fight, and it was absolute perfection.
PSG look too much for the top side. This is so predictable.
We know what we have to do. We will not just wait and let them beat us.
Brazil is here to dominate. The Saving Law is here to dominate. Red are here to dominate.
我觉得看了他们今天的比赛，我觉得他们的 AD 可能在团战的发挥没那么好，就是所以看有没有机会在团战里面多点抓他吧。
Back to the drawing board, it seems, for the Wildcats.
So dominant this time around as well. Every member on PSG was shining.
RNG，我们研究了你们每一场的比赛，我们要来了。
Getting dominated by Gala as we speak. The double kill comes in. He sets up a huge knock-on to so many, but those are the stopwatches we love to see. It's a triple kill for Gala. Can he pick up more? That will be the Quadra as he's looking for Grimthar. Once again, look at his lips. That is the pentakill. Gala!
首先，我觉得参加任何一场比赛，我的目标都是赢下来这个冠军吧。
Hello, one and all, and welcome back to MSI 2022 in Busan, South Korea, where today we will be continuing Group B and only Group B. I am Quickshot, joined by Augs and Raz busting out the moves, and I've got all you lovely viewers at home, as well as 6 fantastic games ahead of us. What more could I possibly need, Augs?
Yeah, I don't know. We've got everything. A nice coffee, maybe, a cup of coffee for how early it is.
We definitely need a cup of coffee. It's very early here in Berlin, very late in North America, and maybe just the right time over in Asia. But before we get into today, there are some important news updates to share with you. Following extensive technical evaluation of the competitive and training environments during the first 3 days of the 2022 Mid-Season Invitational, League Ops discovered following day 3 that there was a discrepancy in the latency being reported in game logs for all matches versus what was being experienced in the Busan venue. As a result, League Ops have determined it is the best interest of competitive integrity to replay all 3 of these matches, and these replayed games will be finished with all other group stage competition by Sunday, May 15th. The replacement games will be held beginning tomorrow, and more information can be found at lolesports.com. As you can see on the standings, that means RNG's scoreline has been reset to 0-3, while the remaining teams in the group are now at 1-1. Correction, thank you very much. 0-0, correction, 0-0. That was an awful slip to have at the end of that block. It's a difficult situation. We will keep you updated and apprised, as this is very late breaking news. So now that that update has been shared, let's have a quick mental reset and jump into our planned content by taking a moment to take stock of the tournament as a whole. Starting with one of our biggest surprises and least surprising stories maybe, is that the Pool 1 teams have yet to drop a game at the tournament. Now, we're going to be focusing on Team 1 and G2, obviously, as they're currently undefeated. But I think in general, with what we've seen is the Pool 1 seeds came in a cut above everyone else, Orcs.
Yeah, I think it's been really convincing. I think with T1, there has been some moments where it's had question marks. The first game against Saigon Buffaloes, they obviously did get a little bit of trouble in the laning phase bot lane, but you never had any doubt, and they've been so convincing when it gets to the later points.
I feel like T1 are having a little bit of fun. I think that Vi pick in particular, it's one like, I love Jat yesterday. Jat was like, I think it's just wanted to play Vi. It's like listen, it's not good in the meta, but I do think there's a little bit of looseness. However, you've never doubted T1. They've just been in absolute control. Like, yes, there's some times that it's been a bit messy, but they've been in dominant form.
And that's even a scarier element for T1, the fact that they can fall behind in certain elements that, you know, Gumayusi and Keria, kind of like the carries of the team, can fall so far behind when they went up against Shoga and Taki, but it didn't matter.
Yeah.
That Owner and Faker can carry the load. That if you look towards the top side of the map, Zeus has been playing so damn well. So when they are even, when they're a little bit behind, they're just so smart that consistently they can take it.
You know my stats are amazing, right?
Okay,
you know
yes.
they're the most influential, the most powerful. They are. Seriously, I've got the best stats in the game, Jat. Everybody knows KDA is indicative of player skill, right? The highest KDA determines who the best player is. Zeus 31 KDA, more than double the second best in the league. That is a lot. Thank you. That's what I want to hear. Talking about like fantastic players, fantastic KDAs. I heard Vedius say that Caps is the best mid laner in the group stage so far. Yesterday he said that. It's a fact.
You did say that.
I'm going to go Orgs one step further. Is Caps the best standout player of the entire group stage so far?
Well, I think Vedius might be the most biased desk analyst in the tournament so far. I mean, I feel like you look at the likes of Faker in particular, Xiaohu as well. These two have been absolutely phenomenal. Caps has been excellent, but I think the competition is very much still there.
Look, and I'll give Vedius some credit here. When you go up against Jojo-kun, you know, baby Faker per se, you know, tough. No, but seriously, Faker has just been incredible. He's been somebody that has been primarily a facilitator for the young players around him, but has still looked like a standout person. So I would say Faker. Caps has been fun. The fact that he can still play a roaming style on the Anivia is fun to see.
And the Galio as well, don't forget.
Yes.
I mean, fantastic, man. Maintaining a CS advantage, 10 CS a minute, and still roaming. I want to move us along, and despite the news and update, I don't want to disregard the fact that Gala was able to pick up a pentakill yesterday. It was a fantastic performance. And quick update, if you did look at that graphic, CSD, I think there should be goal difference of 14. We will move on. I want to talk about Gala's pentakill. I think in general, RNG still, you know, fantastic. Expectations would still be they pick up those wins again. But this was a phenomenal pentakill. It's one of those ones that Gala really had to earn, Orcs.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the meta shift has really favored Gala. He is a player who loves these high mobility, playmaking AD carries. The Kais was something he was renowned for last year, and he just performed so well on this Lucian.
Yeah, a person that loves to play on the edge. You're right. When he first kind of came onto the scene, he was the Kaisa player that wanted to just dive straight into the backline. Throughout these games, he's made some mistakes, of course, but that's the type of thing you want to learn from and get better from. So
when you're always on the edge, sometimes you go too far, right? That's it. If you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space.
Great risks, great
Is
rewards.
that a 90s saying, I think? Let's focus a little bit more on Group B in particular, starting, of course, with the standings as well as the match schedule to follow. Now, of course, when we take a little bit of a commentary on the standings and the new update, RNG will now be reset at 0-0. But I think the big story, frankly, is the three other teams in the group. They're all fighting for that second seed in the Rumble stage. They've all taken wins off one another, which makes today's games, amongst all three of them especially, particularly engaging.
Yes, and like with situations like these, it's greater opportunities for PSG, Wildcats, and Canids to kind of take the best out of it, right? Even hearing from like them coming into today and some of the words that they were talking about it, they learned from watching RNG's games coming in, and now they get a second chance at it. So I mean, this is a contested group.
Listening to PSG show be like, yeah, Holy Phoenix just doesn't play team fights well. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but like that was the intent.
That was heavy.
Now we'll see what's going to happen because, of course, we do have 6 games ahead of us. Let's take a look at the schedule and talk about some of the games that are going to be hugely impactful. I think any game featuring those bottom 3 teams are going to be where my eyes are going to. But Orgs, which matchups are you most excited for?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like just the first game of the day is going to be such a big one as well. Getting PSG Talon having a rematch against the Red Canids. And we saw Red Canids have a fantastic performance in the previous matchup. We saw between these two a chance for PSG to bite back.
They do indeed. And of course, now we'll find out what Canids can do after winning the first game, dropping the next 2. They've got to bounce back. They started really strong, looked really impressive. And Orgs, you spoke to production And you helped put together a little graphic to explain this situation, the power structure in Group B.
It's pretty complicated.
Can you help me out here?
Yeah, I'll help you with this. So just to keep it real clear, right?
Okay.
I put this graphic together to help explain this, right? You following?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so first off, we saw, the Wildcats beat Red Canids, right?
Okay,
That's something to remember. You got that in your head?
Okay, yeah.
Right?
I'm trying to keep up.
Secondly, we saw Red Canids beat PSG.
Okay, wait, yeah.
No.
Slow
Let me finish. Let me finish. Okay.
Soak it in.
And finally, we saw PSG beat the Istanbul Wildcats.
Yeah, but
have you got that?
I mean,
Do you want me to go over it again?
What does it mean? Like, what?
I can't make it easier.
You're gonna have to spell it out for him.
Look at the graphic, please.
This is phenomenal artwork. Are you a graphic designer and you're part-time?
Yeah, I freelance a little bit.
Multi-talented.
This took time.
Okay. Taking inspiration then from the graphic and the circle of suck, I think is what Red has called it in the past. What do teams need to do good to win? And what do they need to not do good to not win? Right, let's start with PSG. What do they do good?
Okay, PSG, I think we saw yesterday a good performance from the jungle in particular, but the mid-jungle looked better, but it has been a bit inconsistent. So I want to see them really nail the performance there.
Yeah, Juhan has had an amazing Lee Sin game. And the fact that when it was starting to work, great, the whole map felt connected, right? And you look towards Hanabi at the top side of the map in that huge Gnar ultimate in team fights. They looked better as they went along, and it was right, as you said, through that mid-jungle.
Now, of course, the counterpoint, if that mid-jungle doesn't do well and they do bad, that's how you shut them down,
Yeah,
right?
that's how it looks bad then.
And now, of course, Orcs, build on that one. How is a team going to be able to shut this mid-jungle duo down? I think when we look at PSG, their drafts have been the least, let's say, MSI updated. We're looking at a lot of the same picks that we're seeing prior to MSI.
I think the only pick in all three games is the Gwen, which has felt like a bit new in the MSI patch. Everything else has been like kind of what we've seen before in playoffs. And ultimately, it does make things stable, but people are innovating quite a bit. But for me, if you're targeting the mid-jungle, it's attack the mid lane. I think Bay has been, at times, a bit of a vulnerability.
All right, let's move on. Take a look at the Wildcats. What do they do well, and what do they do not so well? I think in particular, something that is good against the Wildcats, Holy Phoenix drawing a lot of bans. The Kalista, Samira, Lucian, been banned every game. Like, he's drawing pressure, right?
Yeah, and those are the three consistent ones. When they go to the second phase and he hasn't picked yet, then we've seen 4 bans from teams going up against him for how good he's been playing. So, like, if you're an AD carry player and you've heard it from him in the interviews, he's like, great, like, I'm incredibly experienced. I can go to a 10th pick. So that's the good of this team, is that he can soak so much ban.
And can you build a little bit? PSG was saying Holy Phoenix doesn't play the team fights well, but I think we as a whole feel that the Wildcats team fights are pretty good execution-wise.
They've been pretty good. There are times in which, he can make mistakes, but for the most part, that's how they won their game versus the Canids. Like, it was through those team fights when players started to step up, and that's where the bad comes in for this team, is that good that they can soak all these bans, but bad, domestically, Saren has been a star, right? And Starscreen has been performing well. In this tournament, that hasn't been the case, and so much of the load has been on specifically Holy Phoenix.
Let's move it on really quickly to the Canids, the team that I'm definitely a fan of. This is the team that I think they have pretty smart objective control. I think they've been smart around the map. I think Vedes was also praising some of their macro play yesterday. Orgs, let's talk about what else they can do to win their games.
Yeah, something I want to highlight is Jojo. I think he's been so fantastic at moving around the map and spreading his presence. There's been moments where both him and the AD carry will move up to make plays around the mid lane, and also some fantastic moves. There was that level 3 top lane play as well.
Yeah.
Just a great way to snowball the game and push the pace.
It's pretty incredible. They found that opportunity. It was like 5 minutes into the game where Jojo's like, wait, I have a timer. I'm going to go top and help get the kill on towards the top side. So that's really smart from this team. We want to see that consistently. That's where the negatives come in.
Tell me about it.
They're not a very consistent team. When they came into the tournament, it was incredibly solid, but it feels like the hype in certain team fights makes them lose a lot of that smartness, right? And especially when they went to Istanbul Wildcats and they had a secured lead, they started to fight into the Wildcats' whole composition and what they were doing well. The comp was great for team fighting for Wildcats, and Canids just walked into it.
Ultimately, I think this is a really smart team, but the execution is where I sometimes lack. I've seen moments where they go for those 4-man plays towards the top lane, for example, and they just fumble it a little bit. The concept, the ideas are there. They just need to land the execution.
Come on, vamos, Brazil. All right, now, to set the stage and look ahead to the games, I also wanted to talk about the developing meta that we're seeing. I don't think we're seeing a significant difference between the respective groups, so maybe the MSI group stage meta as a whole. Some of the picks, I want to ask what's working, what's not working, what are you on the fence about? And a few of the highlights, Lucian, Nami, Ahri, the Pyke, the Gwen. Let's start with Lucian and Nami, because, Raz, we've talked about this on air already. What do you make of the 2 picks?
It's beautiful, right? When we first came into the tournament, we saw Lucian being a permaban because of how strong it is as a flex. but apparently it's just a damn good bot laner.
Yeah.
And that is really where it's been flourishing. So Nami has been a really good pick alongside of it. It's been really fun to see it specifically. And it is high execution. That is the risk that comes into it. When we saw game one, T1 play, Gumayusi and Keria started to fumble when they made one mistake. But when it works, you're just dominating games.
You can get pentakills.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think speaking of high execution, the Pyke, which we expected for G2, it's been such a historic pick for this team. But we even saw Keria play it yesterday and have a fantastic performance. I think the Umbral Glaive changes give you so much control over the map, and it allows you to roam and make those plays and snowball so hard.
And so slippery. The one champion that doesn't have the ability to do that.
He does go underwater, right?
Yeah, there we go. One champion that hasn't been able to do that is Nautilus. Nautilus has been struggling so far in the tournament, and the two outliers for this pick has been Corporal and Farfetch. So both of the supports, of course, with the risk of the pick, when you go in, you stay in, and oftentimes has been dying.
I mean, I definitely heard that Nautilus is just a very squishy champion.
Yeah.
Very quick hits here as we are running out of time before draft. Orcs, maybe hit me up talking about Wukong and Jhin. I think we're seeing more Wukong than I was anticipating.
Yeah, I mean, I think Wukong, the buffs have definitely shown up and he's looked good. There is some volatility. If you fall behind, he's not as impactful, but those team fights have been absolutely massive. And the Jhin, I'm not completely sold on it, but I think it's performed well. We've had some Umbral Glaive rushes, which is obviously, quite an effective tool for the team. But we've also seen a game with like the normal crit build come in.
Yeah, and the biggest thing about Wukong is the fact that his level 6 spike is so big, the clear that he has is so quick, and he's just so safe of a jungler, so I expect him to be the first pick consistently.
Impressive. Let's see who's going to be able to handle it. 4-3 at the moment in terms of win-losses. Turn our attention to the first match. It is PSG Talon taking on the Red Canids. I think it's very important to remember, Red Canids not only won that first game, they obliterated PSG in extremely dominating fashion.
Good game.
13-0. 26 on the scoreline. I think very crucially now, the perspective and the shift has to come to PSG. What do they need to do differently? How are they going to step up to number one, prevent that from happening? And then number two, also looking to set themselves up to advance to the Rumble stage.
Well, I think it's twofold. We talked about the mid-jungle before. If Yuhan has a good game, fantastic. But also that roaming support, Jojo, you need to make sure he can't just freely leave the lane to impact the rest of the map.
Yeah, I want to see a focus from PSG towards topside. Consistently throughout international events, Unified and Kaiwinning has been such a good duo, and so perhaps that could be a lane that they can rely upon. And just people say that they're predictable. Sometimes that can be a strength for a team if they can reliably be consistent on their strengths on that one. Like if their team fighting is strong, that is what I want to see from them. I
mean, let's talk a little bit now about Jojo's map movements and how that can also impact things, because we were highlighting the do good win, do no good no win, and in terms of what impact that's going to have today.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like it's one of those things where like when we saw that first game, the map state was kind of even, and it was really those movements, those numbers advantages that start to snowball things. I have to say as well that we've seen PSG start to step up as the tournament is going on. So despite the fact Red Canids won the first matchup, I don't think they can go in and expect things to go completely the same.
Oh, it's such a great segue. I want to find out if the fans at home agree with this, because we do have a MasterCard fan predictions for PSG versus the Red Canids. And remembering the fact that Red destroyed PSG the first time that they met, this time around, PSG have been developing. Let's find out exactly who you are voting for at home. And you can hit us up on Twitter at MasterCard Nexus every single day. I'm waiting for the results. I'm waiting for... No way that's 50-50.
No
Is that legit?
That's wild.
Oh my word. How many votes do we have? How many votes do we have?
That's never happened before.
While they're figuring out how many votes we have, gentlemen, who's going to win this? Fans at home 50-50 split.
I don't know.
Who do you think? Come on.
I think Red Canids, right? I think the map movement's clean. If they hit right, they can do it.
Ooh, I'll say PSG Talon. I'll say they have been scaling up throughout the tournament, and Hanabi is online now.
Oh, man, we're not going to have the time to figure it out, but this is insane. 50-50 votes.
Wow.
Hanabi, I'm split on my analysts. Fans at home think it's 50-50. You guys know where my vote is going. I'm going Canids. Come on. Look at my fingernails. Give me a single. Kevin, look at this. You've heard enough from us. It's time to hand it over to Ashin and Dagda. Vamos, Brazil!